we've talked a lot about competition because I get very excited about it, and it's an area where there's a lot to be said about it. The most important thing, I think, is just understanding that if you think competition is static, you're going to make a mistake. And people will change over time. However small your business is and however tightly defined the segment that you're going to enter, it's going to be important to work out how your competition is going to react to you going into it. Does anybody want to explore that idea further in relation to their own business? Because it seems to me to be a terribly important one. These are all areas that we have covered in terms of thinking that your concept is unique. People too often make that mistake. And the idea that direct competition is all that matters. Generally, indirect and substitute competition is far more important than the direct competition. So how are you going to change when the incumbents retaliate? How are you going to retain those customers and build loyalty? And very often, what is most important in a business is actually the execution. It's not the idea. It's how you execute it. And it's on the relationships. Here's a gentleman who's clearly in business, who knows how this works, that actually coming up with the most brilliant idea is not what it's about. It's about how you execute it, how you deliver first-class customer service, and understanding that in this area, and that you can actually get it across. You can explain to people. So saying to people, we have the best service, is not really great. I remember Julian Richer many years ago. Some people will have heard of Richer Sounds. It's one of the most successful retail businesses, and he has great understanding of retail businesses, saying that one of the biggest mistakes he ever came across was Midland Bank, who had the great slogan, the bank that likes to say yes. Well, you're setting yourself up, unfortunately, for a fall if you do that, because as soon as you walk into the bank and they say no, it doesn't go down terribly well. So you need to be extremely careful about how you manage those expectations. Then you come on to how the product's going to be produced, and this is the flip side of the coin to the how you're going to do the sales and distribution. It's about making choices. And so those of you who are selling services, don't switch off at this point. It's about what fixed costs you put in. So if you've got a manufacturing business, are you going to set up your own factory? Who knows how big Innocent's factory is? Innocent Smooth is. They don't have one. It's a marketing business. There's another business, very exciting business, I believe, in the supermarkets with a food product called Goo. Does anybody come up with Goo? G-U. Wonderful chocolate products. And that, again, is a very similar business, which is entirely marketing, and all the manufacturing is outsourced. Nothing wrong with that. If you're going to build a factory, that may be your unique proposition. The second business that I told you about, in terms of how it built its business through the supermarkets, what did it have to offer apart from service and relationship? What it had was it had its own manufacturing unit and was extremely good at innovating within that factory, and therefore that was critical as part of the business. So identifying where you're going to put your fixed costs into the business is terribly important. And when you're building the business, when you're explaining how the business is going to grow over time, you have to explain at what stages you're going to put extra fixed costs in, because businesses don't grow in straight lines. You have to put in lumps of cost along the way, and understanding at which milestones you're going to have to put in those lumps of cost is terribly important. Coming back to the scalability, which I talked about at the beginning, your business will go through stages where you have to put money into it, lumps of money, in order to cover fixed costs. So when we looked at the business which was selling through the retail multiples, we came to a stage where the factory was full, where there was no further capacity in that factory. We had to work out whether we took the business back a stage and built another factory, or whether we sold out. And at that stage we actually sold out, because it is such a big step to go and build another unit. This is where the operations side, and if you're building a service business, it might be about, do you have an internal call center? It might be about, how many people do you have working for you? How many are going to be employees? How many are going to be freelance? How many are going to be agents? How are you going to build the infrastructure of the business? And some of the best businesses these days tend to be virtual businesses, rather than businesses with all the fixed costs attached to them. So just as when you're talking about the product, don't get overexcited about it. Don't overburden the reader with detail. Similarly, in this stage, talking about the intricate details of your production line are not really very fascinating to the reader, so much as why that is relevant and why that is going to drive your business, which matters. And I chair a stem cell company spun out of Imperial, and when I was thrown this company, they had the most fantastically complicated business plan with all sorts of wonderful technical terms which I didn't begin to understand. And when I went along to see the founder, I said, I'm terribly sorry, but I gave up science at 14. I have no idea what you're talking about, and I have no idea what I'm doing here. She said, you're exactly what we need. If you can understand it, anybody can understand it. So I didn't take terribly kindly to that, but you get the idea that actually you've got to talk in layman's language. You've got to understand what the reader wants to hear. You've got to explain it in terms that are market-driven, and not just talking about it for the sake of talking about it.